the aim of parenting was kids that behave, you know? I mean, but as parents, you hate it when you see the kid at the grocery store who's freaking out and yelling, screaming, and you're like, I'm glad it's not me, you know?
Yeah.
And you kind of think that's the aim of parenting. And Anne read a book at one point, and she read this book by Tim Keller called The Prodigal God. And he talks about how that both the rebel and the rule keeper were both lost in the story. That the younger son and the older son in the story, and people overlook, they notice that the rebel son was lost, but they don't realize that the older son was just as lost because he was prideful, into himself. Um, he was a rule keeper, but he thought he deserved everything. He was ungrateful and had no compassion. And anyway, that changed our parenting, and we began to realize that, you know, both the rebels in our family and the rule keepers are lost. And the best thing we can do for them is to help them to see their need, help them to see their own sinfulness, not in some, you know, preachy way or condemning, but just what's needed in a child's life is their heart to be changed, not just the outward behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would try to ask questions and so forth that would get to the heart, not just the outward. You know, we had kids who were rule keepers and they kept the rules and it seemed like they were, but the truth was inside, they lacked compassion. They were, you know, thought they were better than other kids. They were sometimes more lost than the rebels who were getting in a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just changed our parenting, and there are some really good books. One of them's called Shepherding a Child's Heart, and we changed how we parented. So yes, some of the goals we set we were able to see. Some of them we had to make course corrections when our kids were later, like in high school, because we realized we had some really awful rule keepers who were lost, but they didn't realize they were lost because they had such good behavior in public. But so we had to change the way we did things, and then we also, as parenting, we learned to pray. You know, prayer is probably the most important thing that we came to realize. Prayer is probably the most important thing you can do as a parent, because you can't change your own child's heart. God has to do that, and it's prayer, just seeking him and crying out to him and pleading and saying, God, help us, open our eyes, show us, bring other people into their life to speak truths, you know, because sometimes it's not that we weren't saying the right things, but they needed someone else to say it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just pray for that.